Can you start by stating your name and your rank?
Yeah, my name's Tony Dawson, assistant keeper here on Europa Point.
When exactly was it you joined the service?
To be exact, the 31st of January 1972, so it'll be 22 years this coming January. From there I went to did a training at Harwich and Blackwall, and we were at Blackwall with I was in the last class at Blackwall, and the instructor was Frankie Moore, just passed away, the old lad. He was a very nice fella, and we had some wonderful times. I've had some good times in Trinity, some bad, but when we were training with Frankie, he was never there. He was looking for an house. He was near to retire, of course, as I just said, and he was looking for an house, and he used to leave us on his own lot. And we used to bake bread in them days. Some of the keepers still keep it on, of course. He used to say, do the dough, you know, do it up, get a good bashing about, you know. And he used to leave us do it. And when he'd gone, we used to be bashing dough all over the wall, all over the tables, all over the place. And we used to bake this up, and then he used to give it to his office staff in Harwich depot, you know. But he was a great lad. And then we went from there. Of course, when we were leaving there, he were his way to get an BM up at the Buckingham Palace. And his last words to him was, "Don't kick the corgis when you go up and receive your medal," you know, sort of thing. And I went from there. Truthfully, I did my training the backwards way around, but we have done my service around. And because I went down to Blackwall first, we did a month each day, each place, and I went to Blackwall first, and I should have been at Harwich first. But I went down to Blackwall, did a month there, and then went on from there. I went to, I finished up with a Cromer at my first station as an SAK. I did, some people say that it easy on my flipping service, but I might be right. But I did alternately Cromer and in the Dawson, and in the Dawson were took priority. I used to go to in the Dawson if there was short keepers, etc. And at Cromer, my first PK was Jack Burridge, and first AK was the late Bill Trebilcock. And both good fellas in a way, both completely different, complete contrasts. Jack easygoing, but a good bloke, and if he sees this, I hope he's getting on okay, because I haven't seen him for 20 odd years. I always remember him saying, it's when we were relieving watchers, he used to say, "On the way, boys, no use to one has been here," like. But Cromer were a doddle. I mean, he used to say to me, "Cromer, I'll never get another station like Cromer. 2 curtains to take down, no fox signal." And he says, "I'll never see another place like this," and you were right. We used to go out to Dawson, as I said, from Great Yarmouth, in them days on Bristows. And that were all coal rig in North Sea. And it hadn't been there long when I first started going out there. Not the first on it, but one at first on it. And I remember once when we were on there, it was snowing, very cold, and we must have had about 2 foot of snow, and it all landed on top of a helicopter pad. And there's me and Peter Lee, I think it was Pete Richards, I'm not sure. And we went out and cleared this 94 helicopter coming down. We were all getting a bit worried about helicopter landing next day, and we went and cleared this snow out. It must have took us all an hour and a half to clear all this snow. And we come back and we were freezing like hell when I got back downstairs, and all going with a cup of coffee and shivering. And the first thing we see is rain, it hit window, and it rained solid for 2 hours, so that's as much as we had to clear snow that night, you know. Wasted time, but when helicopters are coming and you're wanting to get home, especially if you've done 2 months that I had done that month, that turn off. Well, you do want to get on a helicopter. The other things that in the Dawson was the bird migration. I mean, I was there because Peter Lee used to be very interested in bird watching, and we were once there and it becoming foggy and the birds came down. It was just like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. You could hear all the cackling outside, you know. And when you used to go up and you freak them all up, and well, you used to get covered then when you freak them up here. But I remember that particular night that there must have been thousands of birds on that deck, and the Dudgeon lightship, the radio beacon on the Dudgeon lightship were inoperative that night because of birds that had landed on the Dudgeon lightship. No masses on them.
What, just messing on it?
Well, no, they were just. I mean, when they come down on the Dudgeon lightship, they come down on the antenna and all the damn stuff, and they just put it out. But there were a lot of mess about that. In the Dawson was supposed to be red, and it was mostly white with bloody things. Other things about in the Dawson were going up. I won't entertain it now. I was to go up in the Dawson with an old lightship lantern, and I used to stand on top of them railings. I think about it now. I've been swooned over that. I used to stand on top of them railings, cleaning glazing, with no protection whatsoever underneath. 150, 60 foot whatever. And I used to stand on top of them and think nobody about it. I wouldn't now. But it were all, you know, I've had my moments, and but I went from there. I went I was made assistant keeper from my first lighthouse on Anvil Point, the first posting light. And I did 5 months at Anvil. I went back as a pool keeper. I love that place. It's one of the best lighthouses I've ever been to. There's lots. I mean, I could go on forever about things that have happened. And I remember once at Anvil Point when this dog got stuck down an oil and a rabbit hole, and I think it was Julian Van der Schuit, but I'm not sure. I'm naming names here, I hope I get into trouble. But we went to dig this dog out. Tom Ellis at PK. We went to dig this dog out, and it was a Jack Russell. Well, I put my hand down. I said, and Julian says, I think if it was Julian, I apologise now, but he says, don't put the hand down there, it'll bite it. I said, if it's gone in one way, it's only got one end at this side, it ain't got one end at the other side. I said, she's only got the wrong end at it, you know. So he says, well, they're right there, he says. But I put my hand in anyway, and I got it out. I got it, pulled it out, put my hand outside and been able to drag it out. But I always think, since I mean, privately in another situation at home, or down when I used to live in Devon, I was looking after a kid, my cousin's kid. He was only about 6 months old then. Lives in RAF now. But I was looking after him, and this Jack Russell, they had my auntie's Jack Russell, and the lad was crawling across the thing, and the Jack Russell went for him, for no good reason. He just went for him. Well, I'm afraid I didn't. For all you dog lovers out there, I didn't be booped. To be quite honest with you, you went through the way. So I think about that incident at Anvil Point now. I think I might have been lucky to have me still in bloody hands on. From Anvil, you know, there's other things that happened, but of course I won't be too long with them all. From Anvil I went to Royal Sovereign. Told initially I was going to be sent to Wolf Rock, but I luckily didn't get there. I've been lucky. I ain't had many towers as proper towers. I think Royal Sovereign's a bloody palace compared to a tower's one. Went on with my friend Dermot. No offence, Dermot. It's a long time since. I've got no grudges against you. But that's the way it is with lighthouse keepers. You've got to get on with them best you can. Some you don't, some you do. I've no grudges. Well, you make a rock for your own back in this job, and I've made a rock for my own back and burnt too many bloody bridges, so I've no flipping grudges about anybody. On Royal Sovereign, we're on there with Tom Winston and Dermot, and then Michael Sullivan came off. The local blokes, you know. But they were the main blokes, how were we? There were others, there was Julian Van der Schoot back on there, and Jerry McKenna, and our friend, the other PK, I can't remember his name now, lived in Kent. I can't remember his name. But they're all good fellas. And on Royal Sovereign, I met the Duke on the Royal Sovereign. Duke of Edinburgh came out. We were all flipping dogged up like dog's dinner, you know, with lots of pomp and ceremony on it all, you know. But part and parcel of the job. Carrying flags right. Deputy Master come on and fought Duke's. We had to put Deputy Master's flag up. Then we had to put Duke's flag up. Then when Duke left, who come down in his own helicopter. When he went away, we had to put his flag, take his flag down and put our own ensign up. So it was a busy time up there. Then there were moments I'm trying to think of things off the top of my head, you see, and it's a bit difficult. I spent 4.5 years on there. Maybe not the best 4.5 years I've spent in any place, but when all said and done, it's all in love and war. We used to go on there with Jeff Bond on helicopter, and his antics. Well, he's still with us, so I better not send out so much. But he's.
I know his flying antics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've been with Jeff, you know what he's like. He's quite a character, is Jeffrey. Where we used to come down before Beachy Head, had a cable across for lighting and that. We used to come right inside it, Beachy. And we used to have a keeper on Beachy waving at us, you know, from up above us, right, really. But you know, I'm trying to think back now. So between 1974 and 1978, I was on Royal Sovereign. There were moments there. I remember one instance when there were a mechanic. I'll not name no names. There was a mechanic and an electrician on there, and they hated each other's guts. So they were doing annual overhaul for 2 weeks, and they were spending each other's time trying to avoid each other. So you've never seen those comically in all your life, don't you? But one of them's passed away now anyway, and the other one's retired. But I won't mention names. But they were good fellas. No, you know, they weren't no hardship, you know. They just didn't get on with each other, and that's part and parcel of Trinity House. You don't get on with a person, you've got to grin and bear it, you know. Especially on the Tower Rock. It were on the tower. It were on there that I did my last cooking for anybody, which everybody then heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Thank God, he's not cooking anything else," you know. But it were a good station. I'm trying to think things back, you know. I mean, I've been carried through this job in certain respects. I know I have. I don't hide that fact. But in the end, I have done my best, and I've been as good as anybody else, I think, to be honest with you. We're on there that the yacht eaters, the yacht were coming up in the yacht race, and nobody told us we're having this yacht race, and well, they were having the yacht race, we weren't. So that tower. And the yacht come round, it were in the lead, and it were a northeasterly about 20 knots at a time. I should know, I was on watch. And it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sat there writing in the washroom, and all of a sudden there's this thump, 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 bang, crash, wallop, and I had Tom come blinding through. He said, "What are you doing, Tony?" I mean, Tom was a light sleeper, but he's a bit. He said, what are they doing, Tony? He said, they're playing football.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, a chance would be a fine thing. Well, the mechanics have been on, they just took a tank out, a salt water tank, and it had been put up the set off, like, not the set off, the galley. And I thought this had gone over. I thought the yacht did this and this had gone over. Well, me and Tom raced down to the engine room, and engine room's got a porthole. And we looked through this porthole, and we could see this damn thing going up and down, this piece of metal going up and down, and me and Tom were memorising what fucking hell it was. And it took a couple of seconds to realise it was masted yacht, and it was going up and down that other side of the door. By this time, everybody else has come through, and to cut a long story short, it had gone, the banging, it had gone right across the walkway, and knocked all the planking out, and knocked all the steps. There were some steps then, it knocked them flying, twisted the metal and bars and whatever. And in the end, it to dismass the yacht, and we aren't going into the dramatics of it all, of whys and wherefores. Eventually, the lifeboat were caught for. I'll say it no more than that. That will not do with me. That's BK's in charge, not me. But it eventually were caught for, after some stern words. And the lifeboat come out, picked him up. I think it was about 6 miles east at Royal Sovereign, and towed him back in. And the antidote to that was we met the sister of the bloke that were in charge of the yacht many months later, and she thanked us, brought us all a drink in Shoreham Airport. And the other thing that happened on the Royal Sovereign was when the lightning hit the radio beacon area. And we sat in the lounge, and all of a sudden there's sparks flying outside, and what the bloody hell it was. And we all danced up, and I'm wondering what the hell. Dermot's up there, and Dermot's went, I think, first. When he looked up, this bloody radio beating mast was like a bamboo shoot. It was splintered all the way down the middle, and flipping, looked very comical at the time, you know. Other than that, on the Royal Sovereign, we used to have strong winds, of course, and strong winds from south-west normally. And the Royal Sovereign is like a Christmas cake, literally, and it's got a pole down the middle, or flashing down the middle, and it's like got concrete block underneath in the sea. And the seas used to hit this concrete block underneath, and that's what used to make it. It used to shake it. It used to shake it a hell of a lot. And one of my jobs was watching television in front of I'm in front seat like television. I used to have my foot resting on bookcase, and that was to stop it from dropping over. Wouldn't see it just like, you know. From there I went to from off the Sovereign. I went down to let me see. I did a brief trip at Dungeness and a brief trip at Lynmouth. Went back to both these stations later. But I went up to Bardsley, and I spent about 18 months on Bardsley Island. I enjoyed it there, it was a great station. Walked over around it, of course. It was a light walking, I enjoy walking, one of my hobbies is walking. I was on there with Robbie, my association with Arthur Robertson, no PK, grand old fella. He wasn't bad in his way. But I remember once we do lots of other things besides I say I'm telling you things now that not to do a lighthouse keeper. I mean, you think I've been on there and not done any lighthouse, but there's people might say that, of course. But I remember being on there once, and Jane and Arthur on there, and they wanted day office, and they wanted us to the sheep up, or help the sheep up. With loads of us there, mechanics, electricians, God knows what else, banging away at this sheep. And I used to smoke a lot, and I went chasing these sheep. To put it mildly, I went to ask of a tip down oil, and that was my sheep herding finished. And I got the fags out and I started smoking, and Robbie could always make a story up, the stories that Robbie could tell you are unbelievable, if he was still with us. But I got a fag out and started lighting up, and Robbie says, I wonder with that what he says. He says, I could, he's telling the correct tips, of course, because I couldn't see smoke from wherever, but he says, I could see smoke rising up. He said, like one of these bloody adverts for Hamlet, he says. But it was a good place to be. We're not, you know, yeah, I could get out at the road at Peak. I went on there with, I think it was John Cox as well, and then Tony Homewood. And they were good fellas to be with. Different in the ways, completely contrast to both individuals. We all have us good habits and we all have us bad habits, and that's as much as you can say, you know what I mean. But I got on work with both of them, especially Tony. Went from Bardsley down to Lynmouth, and I had a long time at Lynmouth, which I was very grateful for, because I liked it immensely. I went back there 2 or 3 times as a polekeeper, but I spent a good part of 6 years at Lynmouth. And if I hadn't been ill, I might have been still there, but I might have stopped there longer. But I had my time, I can't grumble at the stations I've been to. Well, I don't grumble at that at all. Lynmouth, in between all these antidotes, of course, you're doing the normal job, cleaning up and putting the light in, doing your duty as a lighthouse keeper, which is mundane really. I mean, it's just polishing and making sure everything's ship shape, and making sure foxtail comes on when it should come on, and the light goes in and out, making sure light and wire, of course, which is pretty straightforward to lighthouse keepers. But Lynmouth had a load of steps there, big steep steps, and then we're going back with Peter Preston once, and they were helping me carry my groceries. Peter's gone now, he was at first at redundancy, if not the first. I think Peter was the first one to get his letter in. But I remember him taking his grocery in front of me, and he was a big lad with Peter, and well, just was the story. We were walking down the steps, and he tripped over his own ankle, sort of thing, and he bounced down a set of steps, and I thought, I'm stood at the top there thinking, cool, this is going to be an hospital case, you know. He finished up with his legs protruding upwards to what's top at steps, and his feet, and he's got a scraggly red hair and a great red beard, downwards, with a box of groceries stuck on top of him. The only two things that busted were a Marge box and a marmalade jar. And he looked as though he's got a flipping marmalade sandwich on his flipping face, and he's, go and take this box off me, you stand there watching me, sort of thing, you know. But Lynmouth were a good station. You know, I mean, I've been to most of the stations I've been to, apart from Bardsley, where you never saw a ship from one day to the next. In a Dawson, you saw ships quite regularly. Royal Sovereign were quite a busy station. You saw ships there, and you were involved with Coast Guard quite a lot. And besides, you had your own, you had the radar and the radio beacon as well, which made it a bit more interesting than normal stations. Lynmouth, to that respect, was a bit backward. Mind you, the time I was there, it was still operative. I mean, later on when I went back, it was an automatic station really. But when I was there, it was still a manual station, and we had to put the engines on and the foxing on and the light on, etc. But it were all made interesting. It were made interesting by various walks around there. I walked for miles around Lynmouth. But that's not the truth, of course. Like I say, on Sovereign, you were quite busy by other means rather than. And then Bardsley was interesting, of course. And Cromer was, well, I said earlier on, very dull. I mean, you could walk miles from Cromer and go down into Cromer every day. So one of the better stations where you're on top of a town. When I left Lynmouth, I went up Poole and went to various lighthouses from Lynmouth. I think I did a brief excursion to Lizard, but I was only there a couple of days. And then I went from Lizard to Bull Point. I enjoyed that. I did 2 trips at Bull Point. Went to St Anne's. In between that, a trip down to Pendine. Rush home for Christmas. Then back to St Anne's. St Anne's were always very busy. In that you were always sort of operative there with helicopters and etc. And the journeys out to Skocum and South Bishop etc. Smalls. Although I never made that journey, I went to Skocum once, but I never made any other journeys. After St Anne's, I went back to Anvil. As I said before, I loved Anvil. I still do. It's the best lighthouse I've ever been on. It's an easy lighthouse, of course. I mean, it's not work-wise really. You keep it ship shape, and if you keep it top of your work, you're right. But I like the area. I think it's the best area I've been in for Trinity. From Anvil, I did 2 trips to Anvil. Then I went to Nash and met Nat before he retired. He's now in the Philippines, I believe, so I wish him all the best. I hope he's getting on okay. Nash Point, I went from Nash to Star Point. Well, Star Point, I just got there after the Fox Inlet collapsed, and the Terrant were all for collapsing. I took loads of photos of that place, this Terrant. And I went back there, I think it was maybe twice, maybe 3 times. We were all always expecting this Terrant to go over, but it never did. I think it ended up pulled it over, I'm not sure. In between there, I went up to Port Linus, trip with Chris Falls, and that's a bit of a bind in respect that it wasn't very good accommodation, but the lighthouse itself, again, a good station to be on. Once you do your work and you could go out and explore sort of thing, which is what I enjoy doing, like.